Hey everybody, it's John Halpin. I'm here with Josh Katzowitz. Welcome to the Friday edition of Pickwatch Live for week 17. So I'm here with Josh. I feel like I should bow, I don't know, throw rose petals through the computer if I can after your 13-2 against the spread week in week 17. That's a pretty impressive effort.
This is why people come to this website and people listen to this podcast, is so they can get the right information. And between the two of us, they'll probably get the right information.
Right.
And I don't know if I can catch Ryan or not, but I can catch you. I've surpassed you in rankings. So now it's just a matter of playing not to lose the game, which is not always a good philosophy. You don't want to go into prevent defense with 1 week left, but you know what, John? You have to be aggressive. You got to be aggressive. You got to stick on that gas pedal. Otherwise, what prevent defense does. It prevents you from winning, right?
Prevents you from winning is exactly right. That's the old adage. That's what, I hear from everybody. But right now, so you're ahead of me by one game. I think it's two in the loss. It's two in the loss column, but we're tied in the win column. So I thought I was cruising before last week, and now we're in a fight to the death after I went, 6-9.
It's like I'm Nick Foles.
I could have sworn I had the Patriots minus 10.5 instead of 12.5. So I'm a little annoyed. Stupid. Terrible. Who else am I mad at? Well, I know I missed Festivus, but I got to do the airing of the grievances about some of the games last week. There were a couple like, really? The Bengals covered? Really? It was 26-0.
I knew it all along. That was going to happen.
You knew it, right? Hey, whatever.
But I believe in Marvin Lewis.
You're the one. That's good.
Me and Mike Brown, right?
So, if you look at NFLPickwatch.com, everybody, and the against the spreads standings, let's see. Ryan is 6th. He's had a great year. Josh is now 19th. I'm tied for 20th. So, pretty good effort here. If you want to get our picks on Twitter, reach out to us beyond watching this show. I'm at JHalpin37. Josh is at Josh Katzowitz. And the main Pickwatch account is at Pickwatch. Other things you can check out, if you have major picks, but we don't have a ton of picks in yet, by the way. Normally on the site by Friday morning, we have all the picks in because there's usually a Thursday game. This week, there's no Thursday game. So we're missing a lot of picks. Over the course of probably today, if you're not watching live, we're recording this about 7 o'clock Eastern on Friday. 7 a.m. You'll be able to see picks as the day goes on. You'll be able to see a lot of the picks from the experts roll in, and you can make your own. Did you see the new filtering, by the way? How the big green button's gone. Look, improvements on the site is what I'm talking about, everybody. It looks good. It looks smoother, sleeker, all that stuff.
Every week it looks better.
It does. So if I'm going to screen share real quick. Let's see. So Ben Volin, as we talked about on Wednesday, Ben Volin from the Boston Globe still leading with the against the spread, just ahead of Jamie Eisenberg, fantasy guy from CBSSports.com. So those heading into week 17. Let me see. Ben Volin's he's going Bills. A lot of Bills. Get into that. But he's got Browns. I got to talk about that because more people are picking the Browns than I thought. But we got to get into that stuff. All right, let's get to week. Oh, by the way, if you like listening to podcasts, you can go to Podbean, subscribe to this show. Basically, these shows go up there. You can do it on Podbean. You can do it on Spotify. If you're a Spotify user, you can listen to this show as an audio podcast. So, whether you're driving to work or just like listening to podcasts at home, you're at the gym or whatever, you can check that out. You ready to get to the week 17 schedule with a lot of weirdness going on in here?
I'm ready.
Okay. First up, Cowboys-Giants. So the Giants are favored by 6 at home. The over-under is 41. The Cowboys are locked into the number 4 seed in the NFC. They have nowhere to go, and they're playing next week. Jason Garrett said early in the week, or Jerry Jones, I think, said, oh, no, we're going to play. We're going to play to win. We're not going to rest people. 2 years ago, the Cowboys said that when they had the number 1 seed locked up. I'm reading a tweet from Adam Levitan from DraftKings. Let's see. Jerry Jones claiming that Dallas will play starters as normal, even though they're locked into the number 4 seed. In 2016, he claimed the same thing when they were locked into the number 1 seed. Dak played 2 series. Zeke did not play. Dez played 18 snaps. Now, Zeke pretty much has the NFL rushing title locked up. He's a couple hundred yards ahead of the next guy. It might be Barkley. We can talk about him in a minute. For the Giants, Odell Beckham Jr. did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. They had said last week he's not shut down, but he didn't practice today. We're not going to see him. What do you do with this? Like, how do you approach a game with a spread when a team is resting? Maybe resting.
Yeah. I don't, it's really hard to figure this out because you just don't know. Ezekiel Elliott wants to play. He's come out and said, listen, I want to play. And when he heard that report that the Stars were going to play, he said, oh, that's the right thing to do. But is it the right thing to do? I think the Cowboys lost early on in the playoffs that year after they had rested their guys. They lost to the Packers maybe in 2016.
Is that round one? I think you might be right.
Well, they had the bye, right?
Yep. Well, they had the bye then, yes. This time they don't.
I'm looking it up as we speak. The spread is so weird because you're like, how are the Giants favored in this game? There's no way. But then you just don't know. I guess you have to think, like, I guess you have to look at it and say, well, what would I do if I was a coach? Yeah, they lost in the divisional playoffs that year. So they lost their first playoff game that year to the Packers 34-31. So that's not necessarily a winning strategy, resting your guys, especially if you have the bye. That means those guys will have like 2 weeks off, and that's great for health and stuff, but not for like keeping yourself game ready. So I don't know if I'd like that idea, but the fact the Cowboys are gonna have to play next week anyway, I imagine they're gonna have to play some other guys, even if it's more like the third preseason game of the year where you play these guys for half or a quarter and a half, something like that. Zeke's like 37% of that team's offense, so they have to be careful with him, but they can't. I don't know. I feel like they can't rest him so much. I don't know. This is like this and the Saints game. These are really hard games to pick because we just don't know.
Right.
I'm going with the Cowboys because I think I don't know. I just think they're obviously better than the Giants, and I think they're gonna. I think that even if they play these guys for half, that probably will be enough. But it's hard to know.
I am all in on the Giants on this one because I don't trust the Cowboy. And the bad part of this is the phrase I use every week. If I'm going to bet 5 games this week, this wouldn't be one of them, just because of the uncertainty. I think the Cowboys are going to mostly rest people, but I'm not sure. So I would hate to, the element of unpredictability is so much greater than most games in most weeks on that I hate it. With that said, I think the Cowboys are going to rest people. And I think Saquon Barkley's probably going to run for about 200 yards to try to get the rushing title. So
how far behind? I thought Todd Gurley was in second place in that. I could be wrong though.
I think you might be right, but let's take a look. Well, everybody loves watching me search for.
So search for Pro Football Reference. Come on. Where's my internet?
Yeah, come on, man. Here we go. NFL rushing, Pro Football Reference. All right, Todd Gurley, let's see, 1251. Saquon, 1198. If Zeke rests, all Saquon needs is 237 yards to pass Elliott.
That's all he needs.
No sweat, man. He's got it. I seriously think he might completely explode in this game. If Beckham doesn't play, he's going to get the ball all the time. The guy's capable of running 80 yards every time he touches the ball. So I wouldn't.
Say like he has 150 yards at halftime and Zeke hasn't played and Zeke is dressed out. Do you think they say, well, maybe we should put Zeke in the game just so maybe we make sure he gets that record? Do you think think that'll happen?
No, I don't think that'll happen. I think if they make the decision, they're going to go with it. I do think they might play him for a few series. It's so unrealistic that he would get past here, even if he doesn't play. But I do think they might play him a few series. I wouldn't be shocked at that. I would be shocked either way. But, I don't look in the second half. I don't think he's playing. First 2 or 3 series, possible. So, and then if he gets 34 yards and he's got it completely locked up. Yeah, I seriously, I wish I could get odds on, what are the odds on Saquon Barkley getting 237 rushing yards in this game? I would like to take that, 12-1 odds or something like that. That seems like a fun one for me in this game. Anyway, I'm going Giants. You're going Cowboys against the spread. Right now on NFL Pickwatch, like I said, a lot of picks aren't in yet. 68% of the experts going with the Giants, given the points. 57% of the fans like the Cowboys getting the points. So their fans are with you, experts are with me.
Yeah, and I picked the Cowboys, but I don't feel good about the pick.
Yeah, it's hard to, because it's hard to feel good about it when you think the backup quarterback's going to be playing in the second quarter. Might be, or might be in the second half, or might be in the third quarter, and we have no idea. So it's annoying. All right. Speaking of annoying, Panthers Saints. Saints favored by 7.5. Over under 43.5. So the Saints have clinched the top seed in the NFC. They can't move. Drew Brees already said he's expecting to see a reduced role. I think he could see no role. Could be the same for Kamara and Mark Ingram and Michael Thomas and guys like, and Marshawn Lattimore on the other side and guys like that. But on the other side, the Panthers had lost 7 in a row. Last week, they sat Cam Newton due to injury, and they played Taylor Heineke. Their backup, Taylor Heineke, got hurt. He's on injury reserve. Now they're down to third string Kyle Allen, who never thought he was going to get in a game this year, and now he is. So do you play the resting team with the second string quarterback, who's a good, maybe the best backup in the league, Bridgewater, right? Do you go that way, or do you go the team that's not resting with the third string quarterback who could be completely incapable? Like this is another one. You just throw up your hand. You're like, I'm guessing, yeah, whatever I do.
I think what you do in this situation is you look at the backup quarterback and think, like, what does he have to play for? Teddy Bridgewater has a lot to play for.
Yeah.
You know, I'm excited to see Teddy Bridgewater play. And I'm sure the rest of the league is too, because, you know, since his big injury a couple years ago, he hasn't played a whole lot. And when he has played, he's done some good things. He has a chance to make himself a lot of money based on Sunday. If he plays well, he's going to be a free agent. There's going to be a lot of teams who needs quarterback that we've talked about this a little bit before. The draft class coming up for 2019 in college, not a great draft class for quarterbacks. So Teddy Bridgewater can make himself a lot of money. He's got a lot to play for. If that's the case, you know he's going to be balling out as hard as he can. I like the Saints here based kind of just on that. I mean, I think Bridgewater can do some good things.
I think I'm more – I like the Saints. Again, this is a game I hate to pick because there's so much uncertainty. I wouldn't want to pick a resting team. Like, I could see picking the Cowboys because you're getting a lot of points. Now with the Saints, you're given a lot, and they're in a similar situation. But, I mean, the Panthers quarterback, we have no idea what he's going to do. I mean, he might get McCaffrey 50 times. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Ron Rivera said this week, he said, talking about Kyle Allen, he said, one thing he's got to get used to is he doesn't have to turn and walk toward the sideline all the time because we do have the in-helmet communication. You're like, whoa, yikes.
Oh, yeah, right. He doesn't play ever.
He's still in college. I thought that was not a great sign. Do you know, without looking, and I know you're in Carolina, so you may actually know this. Do you know who I asked you this last week and you knew it. Do you know who the backup quarterback is now for Carolina?
Now, yes, Garrett Gilbert. But that's only because I follow the team. Right.
It's because you follow the team. There's no way anybody else knows that unless you live in Carolina.
He was a backup. I think he was the backup, one of the backups last year. Or they signed him in the offseason. I forget which.
They just signed him off the street, I guess, right?
Yeah. I mean, they basically said, oh, my God, we have to get a backup quarterback for this week. And, you know, hey, Garrett Gilbert, what are you doing on Christmas? Come practice.
You know what he was supposed to be doing? He was supposed to be playing with somebody called the Orlando Apollos.
Is that for the AAF or who?
It must be that. The Alliance of American Football.
Yeah. So they're starting to play in the spring. Right.
He was Orlando's number one pick, I guess, in the protector pick quarterback draft last one. This is fascinating. He was playing some minor league, and now he's back in the big team. And the way that the Panthers quarterbacks are going, he's going to play. He's going to get some playing time probably. Who
was the number one overall pick for the Alliance of American Football for this season?
God, I think Josh Johnson was.
You are correct. Yep.
Is that right?
Yes.
You knew the answer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, you get to watch pro football in the spring, sort of. I don't know.
I mean, they're getting paid, right? So it is technically pro football.
Yeah. So this game, again, it's another one that don't go out of you. I think if you're going to wager on this game, there's more risk than opportunity in the uncertainty here. You know, some people look at this and go, oh, I'm going to outsmart everybody. Yeah. You've never seen Kyle Allen take an NFL snap, really, other than handing it off and throwing one pass last week. So don't think you know what's going to happen because you don't.
Well, I told you I didn't really. I felt not good about the Cowboys pick. I feel a lot better about the Saints pick. So
okay, I don't feel good about it at all. I'm taking the Saints, but I don't feel good about it. So
yeah, 9's a lot, but
all right. So we both got the Saints, given the points. All right. It opened at 9, by the way. It opened at Saints -9. Now it's Saints minus 7.5. Over under 43.5. In case I didn't say that earlier.
So we picked them at 9, right? So now it's 7.5. I feel even better about it.
We can look. Trick in Pickwatch. You can change it.
You can change
if you get a more advantageous spread, you can go change it.
Oh wow!
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize that.
We can game the system. Don't
tell Sean.
All right. Jets Pats. Pats favored by 13.5. Over under 44.5. So the Pats can technically, right now the Pats are in the AFC number 2 slot. They can technically get number 1 if they win and the Chiefs lose because they beat the Chiefs and they have the tiebreaker. They could also drop out of the number 2 if they lose and the Texans win. I wouldn't. So basically what we're trying to say here is the Pats have every reason to play at 100% effort. I mean, they've said during the week, a couple of their guys are like, yeah, this is basically a playoff game for us. Maybe. I mean, they want to win. They're 7-0 at home, by the way. 5-2 against the spread at home. They've struggled on the road. They're, what are they, 4-4? 4-4, I think. Let's see. So they beat the Jets a few weeks ago by 2 touchdowns. Here's the thing here. I said this to someone yesterday. This is a game that over the years that we've watched the Pats, you would say the Pats need to win to lock up a playoff seeding slot and to get a bye. And they're playing the Jets. They're going to win like 40-3. You know, they are just going to go out there and crush them. I don't know that they have the extra gear to do that anymore. Like they're good. And I'm not, again, I think I said this Wednesday. I don't want to repeat myself. I'm not forecasting the demise of the Patriots dynasty here. I'm just saying, I think they're a step off. I've been saying it for weeks. They're a little less than they normally are. That's all. It's not bad. It's not criticizing them. They're getting older. Maybe it's just a different kind of year. I just don't know that they go out there and, you know, I mean, every week it looks like they struggle just a little bit. Well,
you know, every dynasty has to come to an end at some point. Every huge NFL team that's made a run for 5-6 years. I mean, I don't know if we've ever seen this kind of run ever. But at some point it's going to come to an end. Maybe that's happening now. You know, Tom Brady's in his early 40s and Bill Belichick, you know, Rob Gronkowski's maybe done after this year. Right. It's just they're not the same team. And I don't know if they strike fear in the hearts the way that the Patriots usually do. I mean, Bill Belichick obviously is probably the greatest coach to ever live. So he's I think always going to be a little bit scary for the opposing coach. But you can look at this Patriots team and say, man, they have some vulnerabilities. This is not a typical Patriots team where they're at least a typical Patriots team that's run by Brady. And they say, oh man, we got to really batten down the hatches because we've seen teams that are probably not as good as them beat them this year.
Right.
And it happened a couple weeks ago, twice back-to-back weeks. So, and we've seen it kind of all year where they're losing to teams. Like, oh, I mean, look at how bad is that Detroit Lions loss now in week 3, and how bad is that Jacksonville Jaguars in week 2 loss look? I mean, these in retrospect look even worse than they were when they happened. So, you know, I think the Patriots are going to win this week for sure, but I'm going with the Jets against the spread. I just, you know, not that the Jets are great. The Jets are pretty terrible, but like you said, I just don't know that they have the extra gear to really, like, kick their ass, you know. I don't know.
Yeah. I think I'm with you. I'm actually taking the Pats, but I think it's more like 27-10 than, like I said, 40-3. I think I agree with you. And it's interesting because logically, if I think that way, I should probably take the points. But I don't know, I was going to say, did you see all the stats last week about Belichick against rookie quarterbacks? Like when they beat Josh Allen, it's like rookie quarterbacks are, you know, 2 in a million against them with a passer rating of 50 or something, like something ridiculous. And now they got another rookie quarterback coming in. But the thing is, the Bills only lost them by 12.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm taking the points. I don't feel great about it. I'm giving the points. Sorry, I don't feel great about it.
I think they've only beaten 2 teams this year by more than 14 points, and that was the Bills in week 8, and that was the Dolphins in week 4. So,
and the Bills in week 8. Remember, we had the discussion about that game turned on a pick six. It was 25-6. It was probably closer than it looked.
Right. Yeah, they struggled that game. The Patriots did. Yeah. So there hasn't been a game this year where they're like, oh, the Patriots. Like there hasn't been that 40-3. I mean, there was the 38-7 game in week 4 against the Dolphins. Other than that, they have not played. They have not dominated anybody like that. So, tends to make you think, well, the Jets are bad, but I don't know if the Patriots can go and strike, because they haven't really destroyed anybody this year.
All right. I might switch this pick before Sunday, honestly. And by the way, they're 3-5 on the road, not 4-4. All right. And also, last one in this game, I love Sam Darnold. I mean, he's not all the way there yet, but he's going to be really good. I've been watching him the last couple of weeks. More than I had before, and I'm so impressed. I really, really like him.
Yeah. So some of these quarterbacks have really turned out to be pretty good players this year. Yeah.
I mean, I love Baker. Poor Josh Rosen is just in a horrible situation. I keep making excuses for him, but he's just in a horrible spot.
But even like Lamar Jackson and.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson. I'm not a Josh Allen guy, but.
Well, I mean, he's got a lot to work on.
He's the Nuke LaLoosh of NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah.
All right. So right now on NFLPickwatch.com, 50-50. Experts are 50-50, Jets and Pats with the points. Fans are 63% Jets. So, yeah, maybe changing our minds not a half bad idea. Okay, next up, Jags-Texans. So Texans favored by 6.5, over under 40. This opened at Houston minus 10, now 6.5. So the scenario for the Texans, they're at number 3 right now in the AFC. They could get to number 2 if they win and the Pats lose. They could, if they lose, then they will be the wild card. They'll be number 6 because the Colts-Titans winner will pass them on a tiebreaker. So the Texans need to win. Texans are going to have no Demaryius Thomas because he got hurt. Lamar Miller sounds like he's going to be back. The Jags, Blake Bortles starts again in place of Cody Kessler. Basically, after I get through the injuries, Leonard Fournette did not practice Thursday. He's got a ankle/foot issue. AJ Green did not practice either.
Leonard Fournette is injured?
Yeah, I know. Shocker, right? Amazing. But so Bortles is back. He came in last week when Kessler got hurt a little bit. Kessler came back in, then Bortles went back in. And Doug Marrone basically said last week, and he hinted this week that, well, they needed Bortles' mobility because the line can't protect the quarterback. Bad, obviously. I mean, the Jags they've won 2 of their last 4, but they've averaged 11 points a game in those games. I think the Texans are going to stomp these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Would you say the original line was 10?
Mm-hmm.
I think I still think the Texans at 10, honestly. Houston beat the Jags 22-7 in week 7. And look at then, I think this is more about how bad the Jags are than how good the Texans are. Blake Bortles has started 9 games against the Texans in his career. He's 2-7, completing 55% of his passes for about 195 yards a game, 10 touchdowns, 8 picks, which isn't very good. It's actually, you almost think, well, it could be worse. That's actually not a terrible stat line for Blake Bortles, you think, against them. But I think, the Jags don't beat the Texans if Bortles is starting. So, I mean, in the past 9 games, they haven't really beat them. So that's one thing. And Houston still has things to play for, like you said, you talked about the playoff scenarios. They're not going to be resting guys most likely unless this turns into a ridiculous game. So yeah, I don't see any reason why there's no reason why anybody should trust the Jaguars.
Right.
They've been terrible all year. Why? I don't think they're. I'm happy to take the Texans in this game.
I am too. Right now we've got on NFLPickwatch.com. Let's see. 72% of the experts like the Texans given the points. 79% of the fans like the Texans given the points. So we seem to have consensus here. Lions, Packers. Packers by 8, Over under 44.5. The Packers are 5-1-1 at home. They got their first win on the road of the season last week. They were 0-7 before they beat the Jets in overtime. These teams played in week 5. The Lions won 31-23. I think they were ahead, but that was one of those games where the Packers kind of mounted a rally, but it was a blowout for a while. By the way, over under 44.5. Last 5 for the Lions have gone under. 6 of the last 9 for the Packers have gone under. One guy I want to check here, Eamon Harrison. He missed practice Wednesday. I want to see what happened on Thursday here. Let's see. Oh, he practiced on Thursday. Okay, that's a big deal for them because they've been good stopping the run since he got there. I don't know here. I mean, I like the Packers. I don't love the Packers. This is more of like one of those games. Who do I hate less? And I think I hate. And the Packers. The offense has been better since the coaching change. You know, Rodgers has played, but they've kind of opened it up a little bit. I mean, maybe last week just because they need to come back, but things have changed a little bit for the better since they fired McCarthy.
Yeah, I like the Packers here. I think more. It's like what you said. Who do you hate less? And I really don't like the Lions at this point. I mean, I've kind of feel like I'm a Lions apologist because I think Matthew Stafford is really talented.
Mm-hmm.
But man, he's not been good lately. And you have to wonder about the whole organization. You know, did you hear that report about Matt Patricia and how he was late to meetings and stuff?
I did.
I mean, you know, it's his first year as a head coach, so maybe you give him a pass. But you know, there's just for those who don't know, there's this report this week that he's basically late to all of his meetings, and he's late, I think, to his media availability, which people don't really. I mean, who cares if the media has to wait on a guy, really? But the fact, I think he's been on time to media availability one time this year, and then there's at least, I mean, he's got to meet the media a few times a week, so that's a pretty bad percentage of being on time. And for a coach who has to be so disciplined, and he doesn't look disciplined on the sideline, right? I mean, and Ryan Wilson from CBS Sports keeps calling him. He looks like a hobo, which is probably not fair. But the way you present yourself, I think, does make an impact on the way that people see you and people see your team. And if you're coming late to meetings all the time and your team's getting upset, that's not good. I mean, you think back to the Tom Coughlin idea of, well, if you're 5 minutes earlier on time, and if you're actually on time, you're late, which I think is a little ridiculous, but there's probably something to that, and there's something to his success based on his time management skills. If Patricia doesn't have any of those skills, it's a little thing, but you know, there's not a whole lot that separates good coaches from bad coaches in this league. I feel like, and that's a bad look for him, bad look for the organization, and you got to wonder, like, what's going on in Detroit, man?
Yeah, it's definitely a bad look. As far as the practical impact of it, really, I mean, I think being as a person who used to be habitually late. I mean, I'm not perfect for sure. But I used to be one of those people who was always making people late, and it's kind of a character flaw, I think. Like if you're late, if he's making his team wait, if that's true that he's making his players wait on meetings, that's not good because there's an accountability level that they're probably sitting there like, you know, what the hell with this guy?
Yeah.
Like, why am I supposed to, you know, respect? He has no respect for my time. And look, I don't think it's the end of the world if he's like this. It's not great. Like, it's probably not, you know, engendering any goodwill for himself in the locker room if this report is in fact true. As far as the media goes, I know people don't care about the media, but look, if you're going to act like that and then you're going to lecture media when you're there, which he's done, don't get mad when they, you know, beat you up, you know, because I mean, you're asking for
it. And find silly stories like this. I mean,
right.
If this is a team that's 10-5 and Patricia's been great all year long with the media and respects the media, then maybe the story doesn't necessarily come out. But, you know, I mean, there's always rocks to look under when the team is terrible and the coach is being a jerk.
I'm going to make my second Bull Durham reference of the show right now. How well do you know that movie?
I know it, but probably not as well as you do.
There's a scene where the whole thing was Kevin Costner's character. Crash was there to mentor this Nuka Loose, this talented 18-year-old pitcher. And he held up, he said, "You have fungus on your shower shoes." And he said, "So what?" He said, "Look, when you win 20 games in the major leagues, you can have fungus on your shower shoes and the press will think you're colorful. Until then, it means you're a slob." And that's what Matt Patricia. If you're 10-5, we're not having this conversation, but you're not. And, too bad. Sometimes that's the way life works. Maybe you don't think it's fair, but you lectured the media on, the questions they ask, and you don't show up on time. People write stories about you being late to meetings. Hey, man, oh, well.
I was listening to a podcast yesterday, a pro wrestling podcast, and they were talking about Ric Flair and how he come out in his big flashy robe, and everybody knows that. Everybody knows the presentation that he would put on, and how he would wear his however much his suits cost, and his alligator shoes, and his Rolex watches, and all that. And that's part of his gimmick, and that was it. But they were talking about his boots, his wrestling boots, and how his boots always look good. I mean, for the most part, his boots always look good. And it was whatever match they're watching, his boots didn't look good. They looked a little beat up or whatever. And how that was it was so weird that they noticed it, because Ric Flair doesn't do that. And that kind of attention to detail, when your boots look like, you have the robes and the flashy, but your boots also look good and they match and they're not beat up. It's a stupid thing, but it's maybe not a stupid thing. Presentation matters, and the way you carry yourself matters. And if Matt Patricia does a Bill Belichick hobo look on the sideline, well, that's fine, and Bill Belichick wins games. Matt Patricia doesn't win games. It's a different story. And if you're late to meetings, if you don't care, obviously, I'm late a lot. I've been late a lot. I've been late a decent amount to this podcast. I show up at 6:02 my time instead of 6 o'clock, and I don't like that about myself that I'm late, but it just impacts you. So really, who cares? But Matt Patricia, it's impacted a lot of people who it's like I said, it's the little things that you win in this league. And maybe that's a stupid thing, but maybe it's a little thing that matters.
Right. All right. So back to after that hard-hitting football analysis by us, let's get back to the game. So the Lions are 2-5 on the road. I said middle of the year, early in the year, I kept saying, I don't think they're terrible. I think they're just a tick below mediocre. I don't know that I think that anymore. And Stafford, he has no help. I mean, they traded Tate, and Jones got hurt, and Kerryon Johnson got hurt. And, his weapons are just gone pretty much, other than Galladay. I mean, I love Galladay, but I don't know. This one, I think I like the way the Packers have played the last couple of weeks. I think they probably cover.
Yeah,
so, all right. So we both got the Packers. Right now on NFLPickwatch.com, we've got 63% of the experts like the Packers given the points. 61% of the fans like the Packers given the points. All right. So just to update everybody, we're somewhere around 30 minutes, and we've covered 5 games. So we're going to pick up the pace a little bit.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about with shower shoes and, lateness and hobos and stuff like that. So Falcons, Bucks. Bucks by a point, over under 51.5. Falcons have won 2 in a row after that big losing streak. However, Tevin Coleman did not practice Wednesday, Thursday. Julio Jones did not practice Wednesday, Thursday. I think this sounds like more of they're managing Julio to get him ready to play, but Coleman might not play. Coleman's issue is a groin injury. I don't think we're going to see him. Like I said, we might know more differently on Friday. Julio, I think they're going to try to get him to go. Deshaun Jackson doesn't sound like he's going to play for the other side. The Bucks have not been terrible at home. 4-3. I mean, there's another one. There's 2 bad teams here. The Falcons have been bad enough. I mean, the Falcons, there's 2-game winning streak. One was against the Cardinals at home, which, I mean, my God, if they didn't win that, they'd be the worst. And then they beat the Panthers last week with the whole backup quarterback mess there. I'm going Bucks here. I think I'm pretty confident in the Bucks winning this one at home.
I'm going Falcons. And I feel pretty good about that pick too. Falcons beat them in week 6, 34-29. I think the Falcons have like you said, they played better against bad teams, and the Bucks have lost 3 straight to 3 pretty good teams, the Saints, Ravens, and Cowboys. So they're going a little bit in different directions here, but I don't know. I feel like I've been kind of a Falcons apologist for most of the year, so I'll ride them out till the end. I like Atlanta here. Okay,
I'm gonna go Bucks. Let's see what we've got here. 53% of the experts like the Falcons. 54% of the fans like the Falcons. So it's pretty close. But going Falcons. Hopefully the Falcons are, for your side, are a little healthy, but we'll see. Dolphins, Bills. Bills by 4.5. I had seen 3.5 earlier. Bills are favored by 4.5. Over under 39.5. The Dolphins and the Titans are the two teams that I just don't know what to do ever. When I think they're fine, like, oh, they can't lose this game, they lose. When I think, oh, they have no chance here, they win. I just can't figure them out at all. They're the worst 7-8 team I think I've ever seen in my life. And I'm taking the Bills in this one. I think that, I mean, it sounds like Xavier Howard might be out again for the Dolphins. Not that that's huge because the Bills don't have a great passing game, but Robert Foster's actually been pretty good. I don't know. I just think the Bills defense takes this one.
I didn't have to think about this very hard. I'm going with the Bills as well. The Dolphins are in such disarray, you know, the whole organization, you know, what's going to happen with the quarterback? What are they going to do with Tannehill? What's going to happen with Adam Gase, the coach? You know, Mike Tannenbaum, the VP, is probably done. He's probably going to get fired. You know, they beat the Bears and lose to they beat the Bears one week and lose to the Lions the next week. They beat the Patriots and lose to the Jags 2 weeks later. So it's kind of an organization where you just
How do you lose to the Jags at home with Cody Kessler? How do you do that? I mean, I'm looking at them. Last week I looked at that game. I went, look, I think this team might not be as good as a tracker, but they're 7-7 and they're playing Cody Kessler at home. How's that happen?
I don't know. It's they're just not a good team. You know, as like I said, I had no problem picking this game, even though the Bills have a worse record. That the Bills compared to the Dolphins have a pretty sturdy organization behind them. You know.
Yep.
I don't know. I like Buffalo.
Dolphins here. Let me just check what's their road record? They're 1-6 on the road. 6-2 at home, 1-6 on the road. So there's maybe something to that. I'm taking the Bills too. I got 3.5, but 4.5 is fine. Now this is not, you do the bet your life savings game. We should never do the bet your life savings type of thing on a team like the Bills. We can like them, but they're not to be trusted.
Oh, right. Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like I wouldn't, okay. I mean, I've fallen into that trap this year too. That you look, oh, that team can't. Like the Dolphins last week. I think I said it was my favorite pick. And then I go, oh, right, it's the Dolphins. They're really not that good. Same with the Bills. Like I like them, but, tread cautiously sometimes with them. Okay, we've got here 74% of the experts like the Bills given the points. 69% of fans like the Bills given the points. Chiefs Raiders. All right, so now we are into the late game window. What the NFL did was they tinkered with the schedule. The early games, the only games that have playoff implications are the Pats Jets and Texans Jags, because the Pats and Texans can flip and the Texans can fall out. They put all the other playoff implication games in the late window so that you wouldn't have one team win and then the other team saying later, oh, now we're going to rest everybody because we can't get in. They want the playoff, the teams fighting each other play at the same time. Raiders Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 13.5, over under 52.5. The Chiefs win, they clinch AFC number 1. If they lose and the Chargers win, they fall all the way to number 5. So lots of incentive to beat up on the Raiders here. Spencer Ware sounds like he's going to be back. I would imagine there's some sort of share in the backfield because Damian Williams has been playing well. The Raiders have been better at home, let's say. They're 2-5 on the road. At home, they've been pretty they've been fine. By the way, the over-under, 52.5. The last 5 for the Chiefs have gone over. 4 of the last 6 for Oakland's gone over. The reason Chiefs games go over is because their defense is horrible. It's horrible. Like, this is what – sometimes with this team, as good as they are on offense, you go, they can't stop anybody. Do I want to give 2 touchdowns with a team that can't stop anybody?
Yeah.
You do, though.
Yeah, I do.
Right.
I think I went with the Raiders against the spread. The Raiders have played – there have been stretches this year where the Raiders have played – you're like, okay, they're not too bad. And they've gone through a couple stretches lately where you say that, oh, okay, they beat the Steelers at home and they beat up on the Broncos at home. You're like, okay, all right, maybe this team isn't quite as bad as we thought, or at least they're figuring some things out. I guess that's what I'm going with here, because other than that, I don't see a whole lot of reason to pick Oakland against the spread, but especially because like Kansas City does have a lot to play for, and Kansas City is still really good, Right. But like a lot of these teams that are these top tier teams, the Rams and the Chiefs, the Saints, we've seen them struggle lately. They're not kind of the world beaters that they were earlier in the season. So that gives you a little bit of concern that some of these top-notch teams have already peaked, or they're not. At least they're not peaking right now.
Right.
So that's concerning, I think.
I think that I want to go over the Raiders. By the way, I said 2-5. They're 2-5 against the spread on the road, 1-6 straight up on the road. So here's the road schedule. They lost by a point at Denver. They lost by 8 at Miami. They lost by 16 at the Chargers. They lost by 31 at the Niners. They beat the Cardinals. They lost by 17 at Baltimore. They lost by 14 at Cincinnati. Like this team on the road, I don't know. I know we know they're not very good. I mean, I hear what you're saying. It's a lot of points. And the Chiefs have been, mortal lately, and they're not perfect, especially on defense. I think I'm laying the points. I think they have enough to play for that they're going to pile it on. So, all right. So you like the Raiders against the spread. We've got NFLPickwatch.com. 61% of the experts like the Chiefs giving the points. 50-50 among the fans with the point spread.
So this is kind of a tough one if you're going against the spread.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Next up, Chargers Broncos. So this is at Denver. Chargers by 6.5, over under 41. So as we said, the Chargers can play their way into the top seed if they win and the Chiefs lose to the Raiders. That seems unlikely. However, you think the Chargers are going to play it out. You could envision a scenario here where the Chargers are playing it out and playing to win. And then at halftime, they see the scoreboard and the Chiefs are winning 27-0. Then if you're Anthony Lynn, you go, okay, I got a playoff game next week, most likely at Baltimore. Do I start pulling my guys? This is a possibility here that we have to account for. And our teams don't always, during games adjust like that. They kind of, focus on the task at hand, even the coaches. But, I mean, it's possible. That's what I'd do. If I had a long trip coming next week and I knew what my fate was, hey, Phillip Rivers and Melvin Gordon, get out. Joey Bosa, get out. Take a seat. We'll live to fight another day. And if we lose this, who the hell cares?
No, I think that's right. I think that's absolutely right. The Chargers still have, like you said, they still have a lot to play for, and I think they need to play well this week because last week was such a disaster. It was such a killer last week. I feel like going to the playoffs, they need to be going in on a little bit of an upswing, especially with that team's history and with Phillip Rivers' history in the playoffs. You want to feel good about going to the playoffs, and if you lose this game, even though it's an away game in Denver, it can be a pretty tough place to play. That's some bad kind of juju going into the playoffs. I'm looking to see it when the last time the Chargers actually won in Denver. They haven't done it in the last 2 years at least.
Right.
I'm looking that up.
They lost to the Broncos at home a few weeks back.
Right. So I mean, Denver's been one of those weird teams that they can play really well one week and really poorly the next week.
Yeah. And by the way, I think I mentioned this on Wednesday. The Broncos at home, they're 3-4, but I mean, look, they lost the home games they've played this year. They lost by 3 to this. They beat the Seahawks. They beat the Raiders. They lost to the Chiefs by 4. They lost to the Rams by 3. They lost to the Texans by 2. They beat Pittsburgh. Then they lost to the Browns by 1. So tough schedule. Even the losses, all the losses are close. I mean, maybe it's different because they've lost 3 in a row and maybe they're playing out the string. I don't know. But Philip Lindsay's out, by the way. Reminder.
The Chargers haven't won in Denver since 2013.
Okay.
So, that's not great either. And that's all Phillip Rivers too. Mm-hmm. He was on those teams. So, I'm going with the Broncos here against the spread. I think I picked the Chargers to win, but this is one of those games where even if it was just a regular like a Week 12 game and both these teams are still kind of in the playoff, I'd still be really pretty kind of wary about this game just because of the history. I don't know. I do have the Chargers straight up, but okay. I think this game might be close.
I'm taking the points too. And playing Denver's tough. Like I said, we could see a bit of rest depending on how things work out. It's the Broncos play games close to eye. I'm fine with that. This game, the smart play is taking the points, I think.
I wouldn't even, I would even consider picking them straight up to Denver.
I would too.
I won't, but I would consider that.
Yeah, I don't think that's an outrageous pick. 67% of the experts like the Chargers giving the points. 70% of the fans like the Chargers giving the points. Josh and I think you're wrong.
Well, if you want to go against the grain, this is a good game to go against the grain on.
Yep. Browns Ravens by 5.5. Over unders 41. So this, of all the teams that can lock up their playoff seeding with a win, the Ravens are the one who has the toughest opponent. A lot of, like, the Chiefs are playing the Raiders, the Pats are playing the Jets, the Steelers are playing the Bengals. They can't necessarily get in. You know what I mean? There's a lot of teams like, oh, well, as long as that team takes care of business against this other bad team, like the Rams too, playing the Niners. This is different. Ravens, Browns, good narrative with the Browns being able to crush the Ravens. The Cleveland fans will love that. Love crushing the Ravens, beating the hopes. So the Ravens are in with a win, right? The Ravens can actually get as high as AFC number 2 if they win and the Texans and Pats both lose. But most likely they win, they get number 4. If they lose, they probably miss the playoffs. So lots of incentive for the Ravens. This game opened at Baltimore -7. Here's the weird thing about the Ravens. As well as they're playing, it's interesting. The way they play, the defense is terrific, and the way they're running the ball all the time. I mean, they run, 3rd and long. They don't care. They just run. Laying points with them, it's not like you're giving 10 here or anything like that. But giving points with them is interesting because of the way they sort of shorten the game up. Because they run so much, and they run the clock on every play. Like, they run the clock down. They're basically trying to, run fewer plays and keep the other offense off the field and control the clock and all that. It makes for games that are not high scoring, and maybe that the spreads are not so big.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like the Browns here against the spread. I think I wrote about it in my column this week. This game kind of scares the hell out of me just because of the narrative, like you talked about with Baker Mayfield and the Browns playing so well since Greg Williams took over for Hugh Jackson. And in essence, this really is Cleveland's playoff game, and they don't have a lot to play for, obviously when it comes to the postseason, but they do have a lot to play for. They can knock off their division rival and keep them from going to the playoffs.
Right.
And if you don't think that's a motivating factor, it is. I really like. It's tough to not like this Browns squad at this point. I mean, I think Baltimore's going to win, but when they played earlier this year, the Ravens only won by 3 points in overtime. Mayfield threw for 342 yards that game. He was sacked 5 times, but Baker Mayfield has had some success against Baltimore. And I think it's safe to say, they played in October. It's safe to say Cleveland's a better team now than they were when they lost to Baltimore back then. So this game, like I said, it kind of scares me a little bit. And if I'm a Ravens fan, I don't know. I mean, the Baltimore's done so well to put themselves in this position, especially because, a month and a half ago we thought there's no way anybody's going to catch the Steelers in the AFC North. But this would make me really – if I was a Baltimore fan, these 3 hours on Sunday would really frighten me. Yeah.
And last year they looked like they were winning in against an easy game against the Bengals, and it didn't work out. So I don't know. I like the Ravens to cover. I don't love it, but I like it. Like the Browns, the one thing about the Browns, they won 5 out of 6, but the opponents have not been strong. So maybe
two of those teams with the Bengals.
Right. I mean, I like them. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I just think the Ravens get this one. Right now, NFLPickwatch.com, we have got 61% of the experts like the Browns getting the points. 52% of the fans like the Browns getting the points. Bengals, Steelers. Steelers favored by 14.5, over-unders 45.5. Steelers situation is this. They win and the Ravens lose. Otherwise, they're out, right? Or the Colts-Titans tie, which they're not getting. So, the Steelers have a lot of incentive to play awesome. And they're probably got James Conner's going to play, going to be back most likely. Antonio Brown didn't practice Wednesday, Thursday. He's got a knee that he's resting. Sounds like he's going to play. Bengals are actually 5-2 against the spread on the road. It's funny. I talked to when I was talking to Ryan on Wednesday. Ryan lives in Cincinnati. And I was talking about this game, and he said, "Oh, by the way, Driscoll's awful. He's just really, really bad." Okay, point taken. I can't say I watched a ton of him. I mean, the Steelers, they have everything to play for here. I don't know that it will ultimately matter, but they have everything to play for. And you probably think that with the Ravens-Browns, you probably think the Ravens-Browns, well, even though I think the Ravens will cover, I don't think it's going to be a blowout, right? So you have to think the Steelers will be engaged the entire way. It's like it's not like they're going to look up the scoreboard most likely and see, Ravens 27-3 early in the second half. So the Steelers are going to be, fighting for their playoff lives all the way through, most likely.
Yeah, I like the Steelers here. I didn't really give it much of a second thought. I didn't know Ryan lives in Cincinnati. I lived in Cincinnati for 6 years and covered that team for a lot of the time I lived there. So I feel like I know that city pretty well. I know that team pretty well, and they're just awful.
Yeah.
So not just Driscoll. It's like the whole team is awful, and the whole organization is in disarray, which is kind of something that we were used to saying about the Bengals, especially in the '90s. But I kind of you like the idea. I like the idea anyway of saying these two big rivals, division rivals, and if one team has the ability to kind of spoil the season for the next team, they're going to do it and possibly be good enough to do it, which I think what we talked about with the Browns and Ravens, there's that possibility. I just don't think the Bengals are good enough to do that. I don't think the Bengals are good enough to beat the Steelers, especially on the road. Even though they have the only reason they're playing for is to beat their biggest rival and keep them out of the playoffs. I just don't think they're good enough to do it.
Yep. So, and it looks like Tyler Boyd's going to be out again for them, by the way. So their receiving weapons are just, pretty decimated. Yeah, I'm going Steelers right now.
Cincinnati doesn't play well. Cincinnati doesn't play well in Pittsburgh. I mean, it's just there's really no reason to even think the Bengals are going to have much of a shot here.
Right. 63% of the experts like the Steelers giving the points. 54% of the fans like the Steelers giving the points. 14.5 is a lot. I'll say that. Eagles, Redskins. Eagles by 6.5, over under 42. So the Eagles' path to the playoffs, they beat the Redskins. Vikings lose to the Bears. Not too far-fetched necessarily. Let's see. Injury-wise, and Mike Wallace might come back. Don't know that I care. Jordan Reed's officially on injury reserve for the Redskins. So the Eagles have won 4 out of 5, and their offense has played well since Nick Foles has taken over. Are you a believer in the Eagles?
I'm a believer in Nick Foles, man.
Okay.
In my column this week, I read about 3 scary teams heading into the playoffs, and none of them are the Chiefs, none of them are the Rams, none of them are the Saints. The Eagles are one of them, even though the Eagles aren't necessarily going to make the playoffs. If they do get the playoffs, I think it's the team that you don't want to play. I think, and it's not all Nick Foles, but I think Nick Foles, the narrative surrounding Nick Foles is kind of a fun one, and it's true. He's really good in situations like this, or at least he has been the last 2 years. I like the Eagles here. As far as Josh Johnson, and the Redskins have played pretty well with Josh Johnson as a quarterback. I don't know if they should be getting 6.5 at home because he's good, but it's not like he's a great player. I mean, if you look, I talk sometimes about the back of the baseball card, and eventually the players go back to what the stats say they are.
Right.
And his quarterback rating is 82.7 right now, which is okay. It's not great. His career quarterback rating is 64.3, so he's playing well above what he normally has done in his career. Mm-hmm. I just don't think it's – we talked a lot about with this year with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I'm just not sure. Even the mediocre way that Josh Johnson has played, or the decent way he's played, I'm not sure that's sustainable.
I agree with you. I mean, they're trying to keep him out of trouble, and they played 2 close games, but it's not like they scored a lot of points. So it's sort of a protect the ball, run it, don't make a mistake kind of deal. And the Eagles might not let them get away. The Eagles might, they're going to turn it up a little bit. I don't know. I picked the Redskins with the points. I don't feel great about it. The way they've been playing, they've been keeping games close, and I'm just not sure I buy the Eagles. So, and this is a hard one, I think, and I think the Redskins are going to get under the number. 82% of the experts like the Eagles giving the points. 68% of the fans like the Eagles giving the points. Bears Vikings. We talked about that one. Vikings favored by 4.5. Over-under is 40.5. So the Bears can get NFC number 2 with a win and a Rams loss. They can do no. They're probably going to get number 3. Now, the thing about the Bears here. So the thing is, they need the Rams to lose, but the Rams are playing the Niners at home. So unlikely, right? Rumblings coming out. Matt Nagy said earlier in the week, we don't have the luxury of resting people because we're still mathematically in the hunt for the number 2. Now there's rumors coming out. It's things like, well, Allen Robinson might get a rest because his ribs bothering him. It sounds like the Bears might be more likely to rest than we may have thought earlier in the week. So, which is why the Vikings are favored by so much. The Vikings, on the other hand, if they win, they're in. If the Eagles lose, they're in. So the Vikings control their own destiny. They are going to be, obviously playing hard. The only other thing, the Bears on the road have not been that great. They've been kind of, the wins haven't been big. The loss, they've lost more than you thought they would. I don't know. I really like the Vikings in this one.
Yeah, I do too. I think maybe the situation we talked about earlier where you're following along with the other game. With Nagy and the coaching staff will be kind of following along to see how the Rams are doing. And if it's 20, like you said, 27-0 at halftime, and LA is up, and there's really no reason to play your guys. So I think you pull guys like Trubisky and
and Mac,
and it's likely that's going to happen. It's likely that LA is going to be up big, and that the Bears will kind of wave the white flag and just kind of play for next week. So I don't think that's out of the question. I do go with the Bears this week. I can't remember what I picked. I may have picked Minnesota straight up. Yeah, I picked Minnesota straight up. Going with I had the Bears at +5. I think it's going to be close. Get 2 division rivals, and the Bears still have something to play for. At least as we go into it, I think it could be a close game. I think Minnesota will win and make the playoffs, but I'm not sure I see a blowout here, or even like a win by 10 points. I like it to be close.
Okay. I'm afraid enough of the Bears resting and the Vikings going, pedal to the metal that I like the Vikings. Right now we've got 58% of the experts like the Vikings giving the points. 67% of the fans like the Bears getting the points. So some disagreement there.
Yeah, I don't want my pick. Maybe a pick I change. I don't really like my pick that much.
Okay. Cardinals Seahawks. So Seahawks by 13.5, over under 38.5. All right, the Seahawks right now are NFC number 5. They could fall to number 6 if they lose and the Vikings win. They're playing the Cardinals, so kind of hard to see this happening. But they could rest to a point. Yeah, I think the thing here, Pete Carroll said we're playing to win, right? Even though they got a game next week, he said they're playing to win. The seeding. How much do you think the seeding matters? Because most likely, if they win and they're number 5, they go to Dallas. If they lose and they're number 6, they probably go to Minnesota. So, if those are go to 6, they'll probably go to Chicago. I would rather go to Dallas, even though the Cowboys have been good at home. I think that's kind of an easy decision. It's not that it's a decision, but you play to win. Because the number 5 seed is a better deal.
Yeah, I think you're right. But the way the Seahawks have played lately, I would still make them I think they still have a good chance to beat the Bears, even if they had to go to Chicago. They're one of my scary teams heading into the playoffs. They've as bad as they were supposed to be this year, they have really played well. Russell Wilson's played well. They're 9. Who would have thought they're 9-6 and they're definitely going to the playoffs? I don't think many people would have taken that bet this year. And they have the league's best running game. And I guess you could look at historically Seattle plays much better at home than they do on the road. And since Seahawks won't be on the road at home the postseason, that'll kind of squash some of that fear you may have. But the way Russell Wilson plays, man, he's just so dangerous all the time, all over the place. Just a scary team to me. I think this game is pretty easy for me to pick. I think they're going to blow Arizona out.
So you don't have the one fear. Oh, by the way, Seattle didn't mention some injuries. Doug Baldwin limited on Thursday. Both of their starting guards are out. We don't know what that means necessarily for the weekend yet. Do you have any worries that they take their foot off the gas at some point?
If they do, they're going to be up by 28.
All right, fair enough.
I think Arizona's so bad that it's not going to. I just don't.
They are bad.
They probably will. They very well could do that, but I don't think it's. I think they'll still win by 2 touchdowns at least.
All right. I've got the Cardinals against the spread just because I'm a little worried about how that's going to work. That's another pick I could see changing. If you watch Sunday, 11:45, by the way, on Facebook Live, I could see myself changing that pick because I'm not. I'm debating on how confident I am that the Seahawks are going to play it out. All right, so we've got NFLPickwatch.com. 56% of the experts like the Seahawks given the points. 73% of the fans like the Seahawks given the points. 2 more. Let's get through them. Rams, Niners. We talked about this. Rams favored by 10, over under 48.5. Rams win. They clinch the NFC number 2. If they lose, they're going to be number 3. They'd much rather have a bye. Todd Gurley did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. Again, Sean McVay said, even though C.J. Anderson played well last week, Sean McVay said yesterday, hey, just even if Gurley misses practice all week, that doesn't necessarily preclude him from playing on Sunday. I would suspect that they'd rest him in this spot. Rams are 6-1 at home, but they're only 2-3-2 against the spread at home. They beat the Niners 39-10 a couple of months ago. For the Niners, they're dropping like flies. Matt Breida out, Dante Pettis out, Marquise Goodwin didn't practice. The Niners have been frisky. I'll give them credit. They've held it together. Even though they've lost a bunch of games, they've been competitive since Garoppolo got hurt. I think this is too much for them. I think the Rams have a lot of incentive here. I think the Rams are going to beat them pretty good.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I almost think you almost wonder if the 49ers are just kind of shut down. I'm not saying they're going to quit or anything like that, but the mindset going into the game. What do they have to play for? What are they doing? Like, what's the point? So many guys injured. I don't know. I don't see them doing much of anything, and there's not much to play for. So, and the Rams do have some things to play for.
Yeah.
So,
playing for a bye is a big deal. Playing for seeding like the Seahawks, that's different. Playing for a bye is a big deal.
Yeah, so, for sure.
All right.
Yeah, I like the Rams here.
We both like the Rams. 67% of the experts like the Rams given the points. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong game. 67% of the experts like the Rams given the points. And 59% of fans like the Rams given the points. Last one, the night game, Colts-Titans. Don't wager on this one yet because we don't know what's up with Marcus Mariota. Right now, Colts are favored by 3, over under 43. The winner probably gets number 6. They could get the AFC South title. Probably not because the Texans probably won't lose to the Jags. But basically, this is a win, sudden death game. This is a playoff game for both of these teams. They win and they probably get the 6th seed. Mariota was limited at Thursday's practice. He's got a stinger. Sounds like he's going to try to give it a go. What that means for his effectiveness? No idea. 0. For what I know now, I'm going to pick the Colts. By the way, Eric Ebron, concussion protocol, limited on Thursday. T.Y. Hilton, Ryan Kelly didn't practice. Ryan Kelly's a big deal because their running game is so much more effective when Ryan Kelly plays. Okay, back to that. How do you even go about wagering on this game until we know more about Mariota? And if we don't know more about Mariota before kickoff, what do you do?
I think you go with Indy. You know what you're getting in Indy. They're a good team. They played well the second half of the season. If you feel like, who do you trust more?
I don't trust the Titans.
No, I don't either. Even when Mariota played, Mariota's been pretty up. It's been kind of up and down this year. And you wonder that, even if would you rather have kind of a semi-healthy Mariota, or would you rather have a healthy Blaine Gabbert starting? I don't know.
It depends what semi-healthy means. Right. It's an I don't know. I'd probably lean Colts. I wouldn't. This is not a bet your life savings game, that's for sure, because of uncertainty. But I probably lean Colts just like you do.
Yeah, I think either whoever I think whoever starts a quarterback, I'm leaning Colts. Titans defense has been good the last month or so. They haven't allowed an opposing offense to gain more than 292 yards in the last 4 or 5 games. So that's good, but you need to score points too. And like I said, I think it comes down to who do you trust, and I trust the Colts so much more than I trust the Titans.
Fair enough. But it's a home game. I don't know. I lean Colts. I don't trust either one. Because the thing is, again, with the Titans, the problem with the Titans is I don't trust them, but I never know what I'm going to get. Like if they win 24-10, I'm going to go, yeah, okay, maybe, possible. Like whatever. They're a mystery. So, I mean, that game they won in Dallas on the Monday night, about a month and a half ago. Like, what in the world? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
You know? So, and without knowing, I'm leaning Colts. I can't say I'm happy that I have to pick. This is because I have to pick. Right now, talk about contrarian. Right now, we've got 88% of the experts on the Colts and 73% of the fans on the Colts. You want to be contrarian? The Titans are your contrarian pick, everybody. I think. That's probably where it is. Okay. Right now, most popular expert picks, 88% Colts, 82% Eagles. The most popular fan against the spread picks, 79% Texans, 75% Colts, 72% Seahawks. I think your contrarian pick. You mentioned a contrarian pick earlier somewhere. I'm trying to think who it was. Not Raiders, not Lions. Let's see. Not Redskins. Was it Jags? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think your contrarian pick here is. I think the Titans are. If you're going to go for one, you can make an argument. It's a home dog in a must-win game.
Yeah.
So there's a story you can tell. Is I guess what I'm trying to say. Even though we're both leaning Colts right now. All right. What else you got going on?
I used a neti pot for the first time last night.
Whoa! How did that go?
It was uncomfortable.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
I used to do the drain it, the squeeze the water in the saline rinse.
Yeah.
Sinus stuff. It's gross. It's gross having water go in one nostril and out the other and all over yourself, spread with snot.
Yeah, it's really weird. It was getting caught in my mustache and going dribbling down my. It was disgusting. But hey, whatever you can do to make yourself feel better, right?
Oh man, I had surgery for deviated septum and cleared out my sinuses and all that. Yeah, it's rough.
Other than that, man, I don't know. It's still dark here. I'm still waiting for it to get light, but
it's light out here. We're good. All right, everybody. Listen, you want to ask us about our picks? Check him out on NFLPickwatch.com. Ask us on Twitter. He is at Josh Katzowitz. I'm at JHalpin37. Our main account is at Pickwatch. I'm going to be here Sunday, 11:45 as usual, Eastern, talking about the inactives, latest news. Hopefully we'll know more about Marcus Mariota by then, all that stuff. Also, this show, if you're watching on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, like us on Facebook. The individual game discussions sometime on Friday, late morning, early afternoon, will be on YouTube. So if you just want to watch us talk about Colts Titans for 5 minutes, you can. So please check that out. Again, playoffs, stay tuned. Our schedule is kind of fluid right now. We're going to let you know probably over the weekend when we will be back talking about playoff games every week, what our schedule is going to be. So please, again, thank you for watching all during the regular season. You can keep track of all the picks, including the fight to the death between Josh and me on the Against the Spread standings on NFLPickwatch.com. Again, Sunday, 11:45 Eastern. I'll be here on Facebook Live, so please check it out. For Josh Katzowitz, I'm John Halpin. Thank you for watching Pickwatch Live.